What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 14 of the Hoop Venue podcast. My name is Tyler, and as always, I'm joined by my great friend Sean today. Sean actually had a hit tweet last night, 88,000 likes and counting, posted on House of Highlights and all of those good accounts on Instagram. And it was about the infamous Draymond Green walking down Rudy Gobert, dagger dunk, whatever. Like, Draymond got possessed by prime LeBron for a possession, and it just shows that, like, when you're fueled by hatred, anything's possible. But we want to talk about the Warriors because they're just coming off of like a 6-game losing streak, I believe.
Yep.
And they bounced back in an absolutely major way, defending their home court against the Wolves, who they had just lost the previous game against. It was a back-to-back. Sean, how are you feeling about the Warriors right now after, the last time we talked about them, we were like, yeah, this team's a contender. And then they unraveled like 6 straight losses, and now they look really good. I don't know. How do you feel about the Warriors right now?
I think they're a little bit better than the record indicates. Like, their rotation has actively lost them. Like, if they had a semi-normal rotation, they have 3 more wins right now. Maybe not 3, but like, this is a 15, 16 win team that doesn't go on that just brutal stretch of play, and you probably feel a little bit better about them. Like, they probably don't lose to Brooklyn. Like some of these other games, I know Draymond. I think Draymond had missed a game or 2 in here. Their regular season rotation is kind of a drag, and I get some of it. Like, you're trying to preserve these guys, you're trying to get to the playoffs or whatever. But there's been multiple games this season that their rotations have kind of lost them games. But I will say this, man. I had a tweet about it the other day. There may not be a contending team or a team that's like in playoff conversations at the very least, right? There's not a team that desperately needs a consistent second creator more than the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
And even on a night like last night's fun, right? Last night is kind of, dare I say, best case scenario because you got the Buddy Hield game. And we kind of talked about this on the last show, I think it was, where Buddy Hield is playing well. Okay, look, this is, hey, look, the Warriors are fun. They're scoring a bunch of points. Oh, hey, look, now Steph's going off. Jonathan Kuminga has an effective 20 points last night. But you don't get that, blitzing hot start from Buddy Hield. You go a sustained stretch without it, and you're like, oh, well, Steph now has to do even more carrying of the load. Kuminga is nice, but he's still not the second consistent creator this team needs. That's the reason why we talked about Brandon Ingram as a potential trade spot for Golden State, and it makes a lot of sense. Now, he's hurt now, too, so Pelicans just tear it down and be the worst team in basketball, please. But, yeah, man, I really don't feel that much different that have felt about Golden State since like the 5th game of the year whenever we were like, oh, Golden State's back. I don't really feel that much difference. This team still needs a second consistent creator because it's not Buddy Hield. And like the rotate, like why is Lindy Waters playing 22 minutes and Moses Moody's playing 5 minutes?
Yeah, I do think Lindy's been good, but I definitely don't think he should be getting 17 more minutes than Moody. Right. I agree with you, and I think the whole Moses Moody thing is weird because, like, I feel like every time he's on the floor, good things happen, but he just has the shortest leash of any player pretty much in the league. Like,
and
if he
just
does
got paid. Like,
if he makes one mistake, he's not seeing the floor again the rest of the night. I don't understand that. My thing with the Warriors is I agree. They really need a second creator because when Buddy Hield was performing like an all-star type of offensive player, the Warriors looked pretty much unbeatable. They started the season on an absolute heater. And then the moment Buddy Hield regressed to the mean, came back to earth, it was like, oh, this offense is starving for more scoring. Like, where can they find more scoring? Mm-hmm. I totally agree there. And so a couple trade targets, Ingram is the main one. I think you got to look at Zach LaVine. What makes these tough is the contract situations.
Yeah.
That's what makes it tough because the Warriors don't have a lot of cap to work with. But, like, Zach LaVine, I think, would be a great fit. Like you said, Ingram. I like the Lauri Markkanen idea, but that doesn't give them that creator. Like, Lauri Markkanen gives them another big scorer, play finisher, but he's not creating like an Ingram or a LaVine. I think Siakam would be a pretty interesting thing because the Pacers, I don't know what they got going on, but I wouldn't be surprised if they try and trade Siakam. I was even thinking like maybe Jimmy Butler, but I don't think the Heat are going to move off of what they've got going on right now. Another discount guy that I was kind of thinking of was Colin Sexton. Like, just another guy who can put pressure on the rim, score at multiple levels, make plays, just handle the ball, take some of the load away from Steph as a primary ball handler, because I don't think Pajemski's been that guy at all. I actually think Pajemski's been extremely underwhelming whenever he's playing the 2 next to Steph. Like,
Yeah.
I would probably argue Lindy Waters has been better at the 2 than Pajemski next to Steph. So, yeah, it's tough. I think that is something they need to figure out. And the other thing is they need a center, man. They desperately need a center. They were hoping Trace Jackson Davis was going to be that guy for them. And then he just was not that guy. Like, he's still young, second season, it's bound to have some learning curve, but missing layups, like shooting worse on layups than Rudy Gobert, like legitimately worse touch than Rudy Gobert, and not making it up for it in other areas, like not making up for it with his passing.
Did
with
Tyler
his rim
just criticize Rudy Gobert?
Well, I can acknowledge Rudy Gobert doesn't have the best touch. I can acknowledge, and Trace Jackson Davis has been worse. So then I do like what they did last game with Draymond at the 5, Kuminga at the 4, but I don't know how sustainable that is, especially if you're going to head into the playoffs and have to face Denver, OKC, Memphis. Like, you need a big.
These supersized teams.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what you
they
could
go
do.
Get Walker Kessler?
Walker Kessler, I think that'd be a decent fit. I mean, especially defensively. I don't
Are they
know
a
how
sleeper to get Kessler and Sexton?
Kessler and Sexton would be a nice package. I actually do think that's a good package. Another one I was thinking of, like, I wish you could like edit contracts like in 2K, because Levine and Vooch would be pretty awesome for Golden State, especially with the way Vooch has been playing this season. Yeah, I just don't know, because I don't think they need like a true defensive anchor at the 5. They have that with Draymond. They have an elite defense when GP2 is on the floor, Wiggins is on the floor.
Yeah,
like, you just need someone with size that can rebound, and like a guy like Vooch would function perfectly in that system. Valanciunas is another one I was kind of thinking of. Jordan Poole and Valanciunas, all I'm saying, might be a little good package. But yeah, I don't know. I think you need a second creator / scorer, and you need some more size. What that looks like in a package, I don't know.
Literally Jordan Poole.
Jordan Poole and Valanciunas. Yeah, that's what you need right there. Yeah.
All right, so Draymond, make amends. Okay, it's all right. JP, fellow light skin here. We're gonna get emotional. We're gonna talk trash every once in a while. Don't cancel me. JP, you need him. Jordan Poole's playing. This is not like a segue into a Wizards convo. Throw Jordan Poole on this team. We probably feel a little bit differently.
Yeah, I mean, dude, and it's crazy. Like, now I'm just thinking of all these players. Like, man, Isaiah Hartenstein would be absolutely perfect.
That's unfair.
Absolutely perfect. Like, that's the ideal player you're looking at. Or like Steven Adams. Yeah, I don't know, but there's definitely a lot of teams that are overstacked at the center position, and they can get a decent big. Problem is, who are they willing to get rid of, and will they actually do it? Because I feel like we say the same sort of things every year. It's like the Warriors need this, they need this, and then they do absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
and I don't know. Like, Steph is playing at an MVP level. We've talked about it. Andrew Wiggins is having the best season of his career. Like, I think he's been even better than the year he was an all-star starter. Draymond has turned back the clock and is playing at a near peak level on both ends of the floor. So you got to maximize this window, man. Steph, Wiggins, and Draymond, like, that gives you the floor. Now, can you improve on the margins? I really like Kyle Anderson. I really like GP2. I really like Moses Moody. But yeah, they need that second scorer, and they need that big to really be serious threats to make it out of the West, in my opinion.
Yep. Yeah, 100% agree. Another team that is just flat out not serious is the Los Angeles Lakers. They're not serious whatsoever. They did, beat the Portland Trail Blazers, so I think they're now 13-11 now. They get a big 4-day break to rest Bron up, rest AD up, get those guys back healthy. It's time to stop blaming coaching. Like, I don't think JJ's the perfect coach. I'm not saying there are things that JJ can be better at. And I've voiced those things in the past, but I wrote this down as the Lakers aren't serious. It's time to stop blaming coaching, because it's the roster. And the thing I've said all summer, and it was, oh no, continuity, Sean, continuity. continuity is great until you're doing it just to say, like, you did it. Like, Boston, yes, keep that group together. Continuity is awesome. OKC, yes, don't touch that core. Let them go through their ups and downs or whatever. Keep that nucleus together. Denver, it makes sense why they've kept that group together for so long. We'll get to Denver in a sec. Golden State, like, why they kept that group together for so long. Continuity, it makes sense. The Lakers' version of continuity is, look, we have, what? I think I counted 7 guys on the roster currently from the Western Conference Finals run. And every player on this team, except Don't Connect and Bronny, was on the team last year. So, yay, continuity or whatever. But we know that when it comes to beating Denver, when it comes to beating the top teams in the playoffs, you have 5 dudes tops that can play legit playoff basketball, and that's why, like, this team is serious, because they just don't want to address any of their significant needs, and you're wasting Braun and AD at this point.
Yeah, I don't even know what to make of the Lakers right now. Like, there's so many holes in the roster. Like, I think, first of all, we can start at the top, because this roster hinges, like, the way it's built hinges on LeBron being LeBron. So anytime LeBron isn't LeBron, they're just not going to look good. So, like, when he had a few games, like, shooting where he missed, like, 21 straight threes and just wasn't looking like himself, getting to the rim a lot less, like, just clearly old age things, the Lakers' offense cratered. Like, they went from, like, a top 4 offense to now barely above average. The defense across the board sucks. AD is, like, the only positive defender on the roster, and even he is, like, just taking plays off, not getting back in transition. So now you're left with, like, 4-on-5s, and your best defender back is half the time it's Austin Reeves. Like, what are we doing, man? Rui is genuine. Like, I always tried to give Rui the benefit of the doubt, but he's genuinely might be, like, the worst defender I've seen play this year. Like, in terms of just, like, he had the one really good game against Randall, and I was like, oh, the body type makes sense. Like, he can man up. But then you watch him try and execute basic coverages, basic switches, basic rotations, and it's like a fish out of water, man. The guy just does not know where to be, when to be. It's a disaster. It's such a disaster. I don't even think Draymond could coach him into good spots on the floor. And then you got, like, D'Lo, who has the smarts. Like, I think he's a smart defender, but just has zero physical tools. LeBron has the physical tools and the smarts, doesn't have the motor or the consistency. Like, they desperately need Vanderbilt, but even then, it's like that barely moves the needle. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know where you go from here, because the Lakers very clearly, like, over these last few weeks have proven that they are not contending for anything serious. Like, they can make some frisky playoff series against a lot of the best teams.
There's still probably a team we don't want to face round one, kind of like we talked about with Miami, where they're not all the way serious, but do I want to face them round one? No.
Right. But they're not doing anything. They're not doing anything. Right. So it's like, do you think it's time to maybe explore trading the stars? Like, what do you think? You don't think so? Because I've heard a lot of that. I've heard a lot of, like, the blow it up talks, and I just don't know where I stand on that. I don't know, because I feel like there's no feasible way to improve from here. So it's like, are you just marking time with LeBron and AD? I don't know.
So, Laker fan in me could, like, arguing with other Laker fans, is my immediate response to that is, there is no way on God's green earth you trust Rob Pelinka to, like, manage a rebuild. If you can look at me with a straight face and tell me that you believe Rob Pelinka, I'm going to think you're crazy. But to go back to the current team, I think with AD's defensive impact, I mean, it's obviously the transition stuff too, right? Like, that's obviously been a glaring issue, as is for the entire team. But we've talked about this a little bit even. The switching has burned them so many times. And then the one game so far this season where we see JJ go to AD and say, hey, look, go be one of the 2 best drop defenders of the past decade or so. Just go be that, and everything else will just fix. And, AD has 5 blocks. They hold the Blazers just under 90 points. Portland can't score? The Gabe and Max look somewhat useful defensively? Would you look at that?
I agree with you, but I'm gonna play devil's advocate and point out that the Blazers suck on offense.
I'm not. I'm just bro.
They are
I
such a bad
promise you,
offense.
the Lakers try to switch everything against Portland. Portland puts up 110. I promise you.
Okay, so I do agree with you though. Like keeping AD in drop does raise the floor because it's like the Gobert and Utah thing. It's like
Yeah.
in Utah they had nothing but bad defenders around Gobert except for like Royce O'Neal who was decent.
Yeah.
And then Gobert just like raised them to a top 5 defense. Not saying I think AD can do that, but I agree that like keeping him near the basket does raise the floor because it allows these other guys to make errors knowing that AD's always behind them. If he's switched onto the level of a screen or if he's defending a shooter on the wing, when the first line of defense gets beat, he has to rotate across the entire court.
Right.
And then your low man is, like I said, fish out of water, Rui Hachimura.
Or
You're not getting a
Austin
stop.
Reeves, like.
Yeah.
And then also it plays into even some of the strengths of the other players. Like Austin, one of his strengths defensively, he's a pretty decent screen navigator. And Austin also just like tries defensively too, which I mean, you can count on one hand. Might not even need your whole hand to count the number of players that try defensively for this Lakers team.
Shout out Cam Reddish. Shout out Cam Reddish.
Shout out Cam. Yeah, Cam's ball. Cam's a good screen navigator. Max is a good screen navigator. And then also, again, the switching and stuff in the aggressive coverages never makes sense when you don't have Christian Wood or Jared Vanderbilt out there. And Christian Wood's by all means not this good defender, but he's some functional size on the floor to where you play 2 big lineups with him and AD. Okay, you can get him a little bit more aggressive. You can hedge or switch a little bit more with AD, knowing that it's another 6'11 dude or another 6'9 insane wingspan dude behind you with a high motor that has good instincts and can play the ball well like that in Bando. But yeah, like you said, playing the drop gives them a higher floor. And one last thing, not to kind of go on and on about the Lakers, but you pointed out like this team has too many roster holes. Dude, they have no athleticism in the backcourt. They have no functional two-way players. Still no backup, like legit backup big. Lakers backup big. Hopes rely on the health of Jackson Hayes and Christian Wood. Let's be serious here. They rely solely from a self-create. Like Austin Reeves hasn't played in 5 games, and the fan base gets on Austin Reeves for the littlest things. But they desperately need Austin Reeves right now because they have nobody else that can
100%.
attack and put some semblance of pressure on the defense because D'Lo's awesome, but D'Lo's not getting to the rim.
Hey, I was gonna say, but D'Lo did ball out last
He was
night.
balling
Or was that
yesterday.
last night against Portland? Was
Yeah.
that last night or was that 2 nights ago? Yeah,
Last night.
He balled out against Portland. But yeah, he's so volatile. We've talked about the jump shot reliance and, like you said, not putting pressure on the rim, so it's all floater mid-range game. And I totally agree. They desperately need Reeves. But even then, like Reeves and Vando in the lineup, what do you think the ceiling of this Lakers team is?
I don't know. Currently, like no moves. You just get Reeves and Vando back.
Yeah.
Frisky playoff team. I don't even know what that is. Like
Yeah,
it's maybe win a series. It's maybe
what
last year
bothers
where.
me-
Good.
I was gonna say what bothers me is like a lot of Lakers fans think they're like one fix away. It's like, yo, if we get Dorian Finney-Smith, we're looking kind of scary. No, not
You need
at
to
all.
fix 2 of those like 5 things I mentioned. Like that's why actually I don't know. I don't think it happens because I think if it would have happened, it would have been happened. But that's why Colin Sexton and Walker Kessler deals have been thrown around for the Lakers make so much sense. You fix your backup big thing, and you fix you get some athleticism in your backcourt desperately. And Colin Sexton actually gives a damn defensively a little bit. So
And might be a hot take, but I actually really like the idea of playing AD and Kessler together because then you can do all the switching stuff with AD because Kessler's like a top 10 rim protector in the league. Keep him like almost like what the Celtics like to do with Luke Cornett. Like keep Kessler at the rim the entire time, just pre-switch everything, keep him on the block, and he'll just be a free safety at all times. Then you can use AD in like unlimited amount of ways. Yeah, I just don't know though. Like I think there's a lot. I just don't know where you go from here, and that's why I question like maybe it's time to blow it up. But like you said, there's no feasible rebuild. I guess the only thing would be clear up enough cap space because the Lakers are eventually gonna sign another big name. It happens every time. Like
and that's another reason why the rebuild thing just doesn't make sense because you're the Lakers. Like a rebuild is going to be, we're going to be bad for a year, and then that guy's a free agent. All right, cool. It's not going to be a like real rebuild like Laker fans see these other teams have, where it's a Memphis,
Yeah.
cool. We're gonna be bad. We're gonna get Ja. We're gonna get Jaren. We're gonna build around the lottery and build around second round guys and stuff like that. And that's how we're gonna build this team. That's just the first thing that popped in my head. That's not the Lakers. That's not.
No,
LA.
they're gonna get a couple assets and then make a splash. They're gonna draft a couple times, get a couple picks, and then they're gonna get LaMelo Ball.
Right.
And that's gonna be the Lakers.
That's the way it happens.
Yeah, that's how it happens every time with the Lakers. If you look back at any era, there was always a transition period where they were just like they went from Magic Johnson to Shaq. Then they drafted Kobe. The Kobe and LeBron transition period. Then you get AD,
Right.
and it's like, yeah, they're gonna get a star in like the next 5 or 6 years, and they're just gonna be right back to at least a playoff team. So, yeah, I don't know where you go from here, but like you said, it's time to stop blaming coaching because there's only so much you can do when you have such a limited roster. Like you can't put.
And I like JJ. JJ
Yeah,
will be
the
fine.
only
He'll
coach
figure
I
it
can
out.
there's only one coach that I can feasibly see just like riding the ship, and it's like some weird Mike D'Antoni magic where he just like creates some weird offensive theory, and the Lakers are 10 years ahead of the league because that's the only thing I can picture happening. Where this
Mike
team
D'Antoni
is like,
and Daryl Morey get in here.
yeah, exactly. That's
Do
the
that
only
experiment
team
again.
overperforming. But yeah, another team we wanted to talk about out west. We talked about the Warriors. We talked about the Lakers. You mentioned the Nuggets because they're a Lakers rival. We wanted to talk about them because I'm pretty sure where you wanted to go with this conversation was Jokic in back-to-back games against the Eastern Conference dropped 104 points, I think it was,
Jesus.
52 points per game, like 16 rebounds and 8 assists. I'd just like to point out there that as things currently stand, he's second in points per game, first in rebounds per game, and second in assists per game on like 66% true shooting. The guy's having the freakiest statistical season in like sports history, like bar Barry Bonds. He's having like the Barry Bonds of basketball seasons right now. And the Nuggets are what, 11 and 10, 12 and 10. They're like in the play-in. And it comes back to like now you have the people pushing the narrative on Twitter that Jokic isn't elevating his team, and
I'm
the
so
reality
glad I missed that.
Yeah, the reality of the situation is I think there's a lot to like with the Nuggets roster. I really like the Westbrook and Jokic dynamic. Like I think Jokic is having this good of a scoring season because Westbrook sets him up for like 6-7 easy shots a game. Westbrook and Jokic, awesome dynamic.
Westbrook propaganda's nasty. I'm joking.
No, Westbrook's balling. Respect Westbrook. He's balling. I think Julian Strother's been really good off the bench. I think Christian Brown's been really good. Michael Porter Jr. is having the best season of his career. Aaron Gordon looking pretty good as well. It all comes down to two simple things. One, they still do not have a feasible backup big, which they haven't had since what, Mason Plumlee? That's like the last feasible backup big they had, unless I'm missing someone. Like they just have never had a good backup big. And people will theorize and say it's to pad Jokic's on-off. I just think they don't know what they're doing in terms of getting a backup center like another Walker Kessler team. But no, in all seriousness, that's the first hole because they just collapse when Jokic isn't on the court. Second hole is Jamal Murray is not performing like a typical number two. And I have seen some people bring up like this is how he usually starts. Like I think his career true shooting percentage over the first month or two is like 50% over his entire career. And so that's right in line. The problem is the entire team has progressed and he has stagnated for like 5 years now. He has not progressed at all. He peaked in the 2023 playoffs, and ever since then, it's just been a steady decline. Like, I think 2024 was actually his best regular season, and then he had his worst playoffs, was absolutely atrocious in Olympic basketball, comes into this season out of shape, and it's just like, you expect more from your number two, because Jamal Murray, in order for this team to be true contenders, Jamal Murray has to be, like, close to an All-NBA level, and when he's not that, they're basically like, Jokic, give us 50 or we suck. And I'm pretty sure that's kind of where you were going with where you wanted to go with this conversation, was just like the Nuggets are kind of failing Jokic with the way they've structured this roster to be so reliant on Jamal. Is that kind of where your head's at?
Yeah, and just like the way he's played is just stupid. Like Shout out to our guy Carson from Nerd Chest. He's been pushing the Jokic is the best offensive player propaganda for a few days now, and you can't even say anything because what Jokic is doing is that ridiculous. I'm just gonna read off his 5-game his stats for this month right quick. Clippers December 1st, 28 points, 14 rebounds, 11 assists, 50% from the field. Okay, December 3rd, in-season tournament play. 38 points, 10 boards, 6 assists, 5 steals, 14 for 24 shooting. December 5th, Cleveland Cavaliers, 27 points, 20 boards, 11 assists, 50% from the field. They lost by 12 somehow. Against the worst team in the NBA, the Washington Wizards, 56 points, 16 rebounds, 8 assists, shooting 22 of 38 from the field. And then against Atlanta, yesterday at the time of this recording, 48 points, 14 boards, 8 assists, 3 steals, shooting 17 and 29. On the month, 39.4 points, 14.8 boards, 8.8 assists. That's just absurd. And
It's lap.
no, literally, I've talked about this in the past, and this is the thing that made that Jokic championship run so insane. Is Jokic turned into just an unguardable shooter, like from the perimeter. He was this insane shooter. I can't even describe it enough, like how unconscious he was as a shooter, where literally every shot he took, it felt like it was going in. And it was always his backbreaker and everything. Last season, specifically in the playoffs, where it felt like it was the biggest difference. In play from Jokic last season in the playoffs, he still had a great playoff run. Let me not get it twisted. Last season in the playoffs, shot 33% on all jumpers, 0.87 points per shot attempt. If you go back to the 2023 playoff run, then that playoff run, 1.21 points per shot attempt at 45% on jumpers. So talk about a 12% decrease, right? Now let's, fast forward here, get back on track with the conversation. This season on jump shots, good Lord, 1.35 points per shot attempt on jumpers. So he is exceeding what he did in the championship run by a lot. And shooting 49% on jumpers while also having some of the best, if not the best touch around the basket ever, while also being an insane level of a playmaker, also being a rebound merchant. He's ridiculous, and it sucks, like you said, that this team is so reliant on Jamal Murray. Like, in terms of impact, has Christian Brown been better than Jamal Murray this season? Is that a hot take?
Probably, because a lot of what Jamal Murray's done has been negative. So you have to bake that into the value. Like, a lot of the shots he takes, a lot of the defensive mistakes he makes, those are just bleeding value for the team. Whereas Christian Brown maybe doesn't add as much like extreme value as Jamal with his scoring, but Christian Brown also isn't bleeding value in a lot of places. Like, Christian Brown's going to not try and outplay his role. He's going to do what he's asked to do, and he's going to basically do it efficiently. So, yeah, I think that's safe to say. Yeah, I think right now I'd say Christian Brown has been more valuable, especially in the starting unit, than Jamal, which just goes to show that this team just is so limited offensively, yet they still have like a top 5 offense because they have a freak in the middle. And I like what Carson says specifically, like you brought up Carson. He always talks about the way Jokic can assert himself offensively in a way that other all-time great offensive players couldn't, as both a scorer and a playmaker. Like, the only one who can really compare is LeBron. And Jokic, I would say, is even more like physically imposing than LeBron, just because he's a 7 foot, 208, 90 pound, like, you know what I mean? He's just so physically overwhelming for teams to deal with that they have to have like bigs on the floor. All these things. Yeah, it really sucks how much they crater without him. And it really sucks that like a part of me feels like we're witnessing like one of the greatest primes in sports, and it's just being wasted by the fact that he's not ever going to play with an all-star. Like, I think I'm a huge Kevin Garnett guy. I think his peak gets criminally underrated just because the Timberwolves could never put a team around him.
Isn't your Twitter at KG's to go?
Yeah. Even he, even he was playing with all-stars. Like, he played with Wally Szczerbiak. He played with Latrell Sprewell. He played with Sam Cassell, who had a really good year in 2004. So what we're seeing with Jokic, the closest thing would be like the Rockets with Olajuwon before they got Clyde Drexler. Like, it's unprecedented. And I don't know what to make of it. Like, hopefully Jamal plays himself into shape and come playoff time, he's back to normal. But if you're banking on that, I don't know what your ceiling as a team is, because how likely is that? And then how much does that actually move the needle? I think what's crazy is that anyone keeping the Nuggets in these conversations as like Western Conference contenders,
It's Jokic.
is just basically it's basically just appreciating how good Jokic is and saying like a player this good just simply will not be an easy out no matter how much of an advantage you have. And that's kind of how I feel. Like, even if they go into a series with OKC, I think OKC has like every single advantage, but like that's a really tough guy to beat
in 7
4 times.
still. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Right,
that's
you
a
have to beat him
6-7
4
game
times.
series.
You
Yeah.
have to beat him 4 times, and that's really, especially when they win every time he's on the floor. Like, your window to win the game is going to come down to like the 8 minutes where he's on the bench.
Right, if that. So I do have one
Yeah.
question for you. And I hate this conversation this early. Like, you know, you're 22 games into the season. He's what, 30? Jokic 30? 29. He'll be 30 in February. So let's say Jokic wraps this up, keeps this pace somehow, wins MVP number 3, 4. Okay, wins MVP number 4. Where is he at all time? Regardless of team outcome.
Yeah, because I don't even account for team success in my player rankings.
Okay.
I don't know. It's tough. I'd have to get back to you on that, because my thing is I place a lot of emphasis on longevity. Like, I think longevity, because my whole thing with my list is career value. So like start to finish, how much total value did you accumulate over your career?
So can I guess your top 5 then, based off that knowledge?
Guess my top 5. Yeah, go ahead.
1's Braun.
Yep.
2's Mike.
Yep.
3's Kareem.
Yep.
4 Magic then?
I don't even have Magic top 10, and it's based on the fact that Magic's career got cut. He was at the peak of his powers when the HIV stuff happened.
Yep. Okay. 4's not Kobe then.
No, Kobe is closer to the top 5 just because he sustained his prime for so long. Like I said, I place a lot of emphasis on that. So I have Kobe over Magic and Bird just because of the sustained longevity.
It's like Wilt in here?
Wilt is close as well. I could give you a hint. They're both centers. 4 and 5 are both centers.
Oh, Shaq.
Shaq's 4. Shaq's my 4.
Uh,
And by the way, before we move on, can I just say Shaq's longevity is criminally underrated because people forget that he was like damn near an MVP level player as a rookie.
yeah.
And like
He had
that-
2 primes.
Yeah, like he was like a damn near MVP level player as a rookie, and then like 15 years later finished second in MVP on a championship team.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, that's longevity. That's what it is.
Okay. No way like Bill Russell's here. Is it Bill?
No, my five's Olajuwon. My 5 is Olajuwon.
I wanted to say Olajuwon, but I didn't. Olajuwon
My 5
kept
is
popping
Olajuwon.
up.
And it's a similar argument to Shaq. He was close to an MVP level as a rookie.
I'm so
by
mad I
year
didn't
4,
say it.
By year 4 was the second best defender of all time. And then that was like still like half a decade before he hit his offensive peak in 93, 94, 95. Yeah, so that was the last list I did, which was probably like 2 years ago, actually. So
I'm so
maybe
mad at
some
myself.
of my opinions have shifted, but yeah, like 2 years ago, I had LeBron, MJ, Kareem, Shaq, Hakeem. Duncan was my 6 because that's another
I
longevity
didn't even
guy.
think Duncan. Like,
Yeah,
I
Duncan just-
thought Hakeem. I was like, no way. But I was like, okay.
So coming back to
Coming back. My bad.
the Jokic thing. When I made this list 2 or 3 years ago, Jokic was my number 43, and I think it was
Is this pre-title?
This is pre-title. I think this is pre-title. I had him 43.
Mm-hmm.
So, guessing off of the way my list looks, he would probably be like 22
I was about to say,
after this year.
really random. Who's 20?
My number 20 is Dr. J.
Okay.
And my
Okay.
number, okay, so just to compare, Dirk is my number 18. I think Jokic is basically like an upgraded Dirk in
Yeah?
every sense, but like Dirk just had the longer prime, so it's just a matter of time with
The
Jokic.
longevity,
I
yeah.
think Jokic's peak right now for me would probably be like top 10
Peak.
at like
If you did the list by
borderline.
if you did the list by peak, this is completely out of order. Bron's in there, Mike, Magic's in there for going off of if you're doing a peak list. Kobe's in there. Steph has to be a top 10. Steph's top 10 peak.
My top 5 peaks would be MJ 1, LeBron 2, Shaq 3, then probably Wilt Hakeem. I don't know. Dude, peaks is
Shaq
peaks,
3, right?
Shaq, I think Shaq is locked at 3.
Shaq
I
3.
I actually think.
Am I tripping or is
Is this the
Magic
hot
top
take?
5?
Is this the hot take? I think Shaq. Who'd you say?
Am I tripping or is like Magic's peak like 5?
I would actually probably go Jokic over Magic for peak. And I
Okay.
think it's just because I view them as like similar level offensive and defensive players. But I think Jokic has more of like the scalability thing where I think like you could kind of fit Jokic with more players than you could with Magic and kind of get the same type of value. Because I feel like Magic, not that Magic was like a heliocentric type of guy, but I do think he was more ball dominant than Jokic is in terms of like spread pick and roll.
Okay.
Magic did get a lot of post touches and stuff. And I also think I think it was George Karl just had a tweet about this the other day and was like, it was a Jokic and Magic compilation, and it was like, notice how Magic is passing to Worthy and Kareem, and Jokic is passing to Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon, and it's like, how would we view Jokic as a playmaker if he was passing to like MVPs? You know what I mean? I do think Magic and Jokic are like similar level players overall because I don't think Magic added any value defensively. Regardless of what NBA 2K might tell you, you know in 2K Magic's the best defender in the game for whatever reason.
Okay.
I don't know what that's about. But yeah, I think I'd go Hakeem 4, Wilt 5. If I was hot take, like I actually think a hot take. I think Shaq is closer to 2 than 4. Is that a hot take for peaks? Like 2000
Shouldn't
Shaq,
be.
like the ultimate peak Shaq during the 2000 playoff.
It's for sure a drop off, and that's not disrespecting to like Hakeem or Wilt for your list, but like no, Shaq's peak is stupid.
Ridiculous, bro. Absolutely ridiculous player. We are just completely off the rails here. I don't know how we ended up talking about Shaq's peak, but yeah, we just had to provide some historical context on the dominance of Jokic. Another guy we wanted to talk about was Brandon Miller because LaMelo's been out with injury. Brandon Miller's playing at an all-star level. What have you liked from Brandon Miller over these past few games?
Woo! Where is the victory lap train at? Because it is coming to a town near you. Again, my biggest hot take coming into the year, blitzing hot take, was the Hornets have 2 all-stars. One, I hate hot takes in general because I never could come up with them. But 2, they're like, they're hot takes, so they're bound to not. The hit rate is not that great, right? And Brandon Miller, does he actually get the all-star nod? Who knows? But good grief, is he playing at an all-star level? Last 10 games, he's averaging 27.4 points, 6 boards, shooting almost 40% from 3. And based off the shot dot in general, I think you're going to have to deal with some of the inefficiencies, like in terms of like his overall. What's his true shooting out in the season? Actually, now I think about it, 55%. Unless I'm missing that. Hold on.
It's 54.7 on Basketball Reference. So
Okay.
yeah, still a couple percentage points below average.
But his assist percentage is gone up by 6% compared to last season, almost 7% compared to last season. He's, I think, just taken the on-ball role with so much grace. And I said it last season, or I said it in my Hornets deep dive when I was doing the power ranking series, that you never want to see LaMelo get hurt. But that was honestly a blessing in disguise for Brandon Miller's growth and development, to where, like, late in the season last year, he's getting blitzed. I think I was watching them play Houston. Might have been Houston. Might have been somebody else, where they're legitimately blitzing two-man action with Brandon Miller and Grant Williams, I guess, or whoever their five-man is. Because I mean, Mark Williams has been down with, or Brandon Miller and Nick Richards. How dare I disrespect Nick Richards?
Taj Gibson.
Like, come on, bro. But they're legit blitzing him and make him to make those reads and decisions. Like, dog, he's gonna pan out, and we're gonna look back in 4 years and see how much he's reaped the benefits of going through that in year one. And the 30-point games we've seen from him, he's not. I don't know if he's ever gonna be this advanced playmaker, but still going through that is really, really benefited nicely. And he had the injury earlier in the year. And he's, slowly got back into a rhythm, but ever since Brooklyn, which would have been 3 weeks ago now, you look at just box score wise, consistent production from Brandon Miller. And it's funny. It's, I think, really, really funny, actually. His favorite player is Paul George, where in terms of how they're going to score and how versatile they are as offensive players, play type wise, he reminds me of a, I don't even know if OKC is the right year, but OKC on Paul George, where
I would say even Clippers,
sure.
The first couple of years of the Clippers.
Yeah. Early version of early Clippers, Paul George, in terms of how he's going to operate, how he's going to get his buckets. Still an athlete, right? Don't get it twisted. Still very much a really, really good athlete. But is still somewhat reliant. In a perfect world, you would rather have him play next to that other guy that can, cause attention for a defense in LaMelo or in for Kawhi and eventually Harden and Russ for Paul George. But Brandon Miller is awesome. I think he's ranked a little too low in these top 25 under 25 list. He's awesome and continues to make me look stupid for berating the Hornets for taking him over Scoot. So, yeah.
I'm pretty much agree with everything you just went over. I think Brandon Miller, we said before the season that we really would like to see Brandon Miller move in the direction of turning a lot of his mid-range pull-ups into three-point pull-ups.
Yep.
I'm not sure if you have those numbers. I'm sure that it's been a stark difference. Just overall threes, he's attempting 11 a game and making 36.5% of them. And for anyone who hasn't watched the Hornets, those are not easy threes. Those are tough off-the-dribble threes from extended range, off of screens on the move. Brandon Miller is taking and making really, really tough shots. And I think 90% from the free throw line to go along with that three-point shot making kind of suggests that with Brandon Miller, we're looking at one of the 10, 11 best shooters on the planet already. So you got it pulled up?
So last season, Brandon Miller took 217 pull-up twos, 109 pull-up threes.
So about twice as many mid-range pull-ups.
Yep. So far this season, Brandon Miller has essentially flipped that, and if we're being completely honest, he's kind of underperforming, which is a good thing because then you expect those numbers to kind of go back up eventually. Yeah. He's taken 79 pull-up threes and 45 pull-up twos, which is actually higher than I thought it was going to be. I expected it to be all right, cool, you set what was it, 79 pull-up? All right, 79 pull-up threes and 15 pull-up twos or 20 pull-up twos. Yeah. I'm actually excited that it's still some semblance of a balance to where you still have to be worried about the pull up in the mid range. He's taking some floaters too. So in that in between, because he's not right now at least this ultra great finisher at the rim quite yet in terms of absorbing contact, getting there consistently. That's what the handle and stuff like that. The ability to create separation comes into play, which I think will come with time with Brandon Miller. But to see that the shot diet has kind of flipped in a positive direction is something that you're really, really happy to see if you're a Hornets fan.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the rim thing because that's where I was going next. I was going to say, I think Brandon Miller has established himself as the perimeter scoring is there. The mid-range game is there. He's one of the best three-point shooters on the planet. Just a versatile perimeter scorer, especially off ball, playing on the move, playing off the catch. The thing I still need to see to really be sold on him is one, the rim volume, not even necessarily the finishing, but just getting to the rim. I think it's pretty known that he's not he's not a super explosive athlete, and then the handle is it could go one of two ways and really, really determine his development as an on-ball type of guy. I would like to see him putting more pressure on the rim because I do think he is a little bit jump shot reliant at the moment. And that's what's going to lead to the streakiness. Like, you have these last few games where he looks absolutely unstoppable. But if that shot goes cold, like, I think he actually had a game recently. Yeah, against Cleveland. He shot 3 of 13 from 3. And because he doesn't have that floor with the rim scoring, he was 7 of 21 overall, which would be, 4 of 8 on twos. So 50% on twos. And who knows how many of those were at the rim. I'd have to pull that up. One, I think, positive signal is that in these games without LaMelo, he has been getting to the line more.
Yes.
In the last 5 games, he's gotten to the line 5 or more times in 4 of them. In that game against Cleveland, I mentioned he got to the line 8 times. That's a big thing because as a rookie, he basically never got to the free throw line. To start this year, same thing, never got to the free throw line. But to see that trending in a positive direction with more on-ball reps as a result of not having LaMelo, and also accounting for the fact that the Hornets have terrible spacing, like they have no shooting threats whatsoever when LaMelo's not there. That is a positive sign. So I think, yes, I agree totally. Brandon Miller continues to trend in the right direction, and like, his ceiling as a scoring weapon is just pretty absurd. I also think some of the defensive stuff has been nice as well. I think he's played some pretty good defense.
Charles Lee's awesome. If they can ever get a full year with, LaMelo, Brandon Miller, and Mark Williams together, they'll be all right.
Yeah, I think the Hornets have some good stuff too.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to play a little game. We're going to go back and forth here. Got a few different teams. We're going to, discuss if these teams are contenders or pretenders. Pretty basic concept. You guys have seen this in the past for sure. So let's start with this first team, Tyler. We'll go back and forth here. Minnesota Timberwolves. Are they contenders or pretenders?
I'm gonna go contenders, man. I'm sold on them after these last few games. I think they're figuring out the Randall fit. They're getting back to their roots defensively. I think they just got to tweak some things in their lineup, figure out the best rotations. But moving forward, I view them as pretty big threats in the West. So I'm gonna go contenders.
All right. I think I'm gonna agree with you. I think I'm gonna agree with you. Like you said, they got to fix some of the lineup stuff. But the biggest thing for me is the fact that they've started to play defense again at a semi-consistent level. Like they went a 5-game stretch where they are holding everybody under 100. Held Golden State to 90, held the Lakers to 90. They played really, really good defense here for about a week plus. I think they're now back to top 10 in defensive rating.
I think they're sixth. I think they're sixth right now or fifth.
Yeah.
So they're up. They're good
so I had a tweet about Minnesota. I was like, oh my god, I'm such an idiot for saying I was out on Minnesota so soon. Yeah, shame on me. Who we got next, Tyler?
The Knicks. The Knicks is next. This is a tough one because I think in an ideal situation they could contend. Problem is, I don't really see a feasible way that they can beat Boston. So I don't know what that means. It's like these Eastern Conference teams are really tough because it's like you can contend in an ideal world, but how do you get past Boston? Now, if they can avoid Boston, I'm going to go ahead and say they're contenders. And it's just because I don't want to put them in a whole different category just because Boston exists. You know what I mean? I still think they're a typical contender level team. Brunson has completely just been amazing over these past few games.
Yeah.
I would even say Brunson's having a better season than he was last year. Cat is having maybe the best season of his career in the 5. The Knicks, the reason I think they're contenders is that offense has so much firepower. I'm not sold on the defense. We'll get back to that when Mitchell Robinson is back in the lineup. We'll see how the defense really looks actualized. I'm not sold on the defense, but the offense just has such a high ceiling and floor that I think they can be really dangerous against just about any team. Here's my thing. If I'm going to call the Cavs contenders, I'm going to call the Knicks contenders because I think there's a pathway to the Knicks blitzing the Cavs offensively in a series.
Yeah.
So
they just have so much.
The Knicks. I'm going to say contenders again. I'm going to say contenders.
They have so much, bro. They have so much space to operate with. Again, defensively is a massive question mark still. We even saw Josh Hart, call them out a little bit. No, it wasn't Josh Hart. Was it? No, it was Mikal, I think. It was Mikal. Funny enough.
Not the right messenger, but
yeah, that's what I said. Funny enough. Mikal called him out defensively. But like they have 6 players so far this season averaging double digits. Deuce McBride is a stud. Shout out Cincinnati Hooper. Josh Hart is so good. Mikal, funny enough, is actually shooting really, really well from the mid-range. He's been one of the better mid-range shooters in the league this season. And then OG's
playing like an all-star. OG's playing like an all-star.
OG's having the best year of his career probably. Like maybe, I don't know, maybe 2023.
I think 2021 and 2023 would be the other two you'd have to look at.
Yeah.
But I do think I think OG's on another level offensively right now.
Yeah,
and then the defensive load he has to carry. He's probably carrying a bigger defensive load than anyone in the league not named Anthony Davis.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly. And then Cat. So I'm going to say contender for a similar reason. Like, you don't want to single them out because if by a miracle or by the grace of God or whatever, they can avoid Boston and somebody takes care of Boston for them, to your point, they could just blitz somebody. And, like, you don't have enough, like, Brunson. Okay, cool. You stop the Brunson problem. OG's taking a leap offensively. Cat's having his best offensive season of his career. Oh, crap. You have Mikal from the mid-range. OG. You have Deuce. You get Mitch Robinson back for the lob threat presence. I would say maybe they need to make another move. I don't know what that is, but for the time being, I'm going to go contender still. I still like this group. Stop playing these guys 40 minutes in games that you're up by 20, though, Tibbs, for the love of God.
Yeah, next up is Orlando. I think Orlando, I'm going to say a year early. I think it's a year early. I see the vision with the roster. I just think they need another year of progression. Funniest thing in the world is that when Franz and Paolo are both out, now Goga is the guy that's just going to drop 20 in a win. I think he had like 21, 16, and 4 in a win against the Suns. But Suns without KD, we've already established worst team in NBA history, so not much to draw from there. But in all seriousness, like, the Magic are really, really good. When fully healthy, I actually think I could be talking about them differently if the Paolo from the first 4 or 5 games is just what Paolo is now. Then we might have a whole different discussion because that just means Paolo.
This.
Yeah, like Paolo's just on another level, the Magic are on another level. But I do think it's another year of progression. I think people kind of overreacted to like the 11-1 stretch where they faced 2 teams above 500, one of which they beat by 1 point
at the buzzer
game winner,
after everybody like missed free throws.
Yeah, and then the other one they lost to the Clippers.
Right.
So, yeah, I think people over-index on that little stretch. It was a cakewalk of a schedule, but that's also what contending teams are supposed to do. You're supposed to beat who's in front of you, and they did that, so I don't want to take away from them as well. But yeah, I just think it's a year early. I think once Franz takes another step forward, and especially once Paolo and Franz find the way to balance what they both do at the same time. Like, if you get this Franz while Paolo's in the lineup, that's what I'm expecting next season. Like, I'm expecting this to be like the trial period, and next season they're going to come out, both are going to be at their peak level. Suggs is going to take another leap forward. Anthony Black, another leap forward. All of these guys just developing, and I think the Magic are a year early. So I don't want to use the title pretenders, but I don't think they're contenders yet.
So I think, and we talked about this in the past, this reminds me of, and I don't want this to feel like cheap, this does remind me a little bit of like those early stages of like the contending Boston groups with JT and JB, where it's like, okay, just let's not break them apart, but we got to figure it out. Continue to build good rosters around them. Now, again, if Paulo just comes back and just proves that this is who he is and he is a all NBA caliber player, then again, you just have a completely different conversation because like right now it's 2 all-stars that kind of struggle at balancing what they do well together at the same time, plus great defense, though. That goes out the window if Paolo comes back and he's like, no, the first 5 games of the season for the most part was legit, and I am a all-NBA player. And then that's where you're like, okay, yeah, they're not a year early. They could push the needle as far as possible this year. But I'm with you still right now. Just a year too early, which is kind of why I think if you looked at where I had them 15th coming in the year, which would have been like 6th in the East, which felt low, but it was more kind of to that same token. Like, yeah, they're just a year early, and that's completely okay. they'll be right up there amongst like the top two, maybe two might they might be like 2 or 3 for me going into the next season for projecting early right now. So yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, and they're already a championship level defense, which is really important. The problem is I don't think the offense is sustainable in a series against like these elite defenses over the course of a 20-24 game playoff run. That's just my thing. And like I said, that's why it hinges on Paolo being a step forward, because you need that guy that can just bail you out on offense. And Paolo was that in the playoffs last year, but I don't think he shoots 60% from mid-range again. So it's more so like you need him to take that feasible leap,
Especially
and then
with
you
that
need him
shot
in
die.
front.
That shot die was good. Good shot making, but that shot die was ugly.
Yeah, exactly. So I think him and Franz, like if they're both 25 to 26 point per game guys, then we can revisit this discussion. Houston Rockets. How are you feeling about Houston?
Pretender.
Yeah.
Houston fans, I'm sorry. I think we just have beef at this point. But I mean, honestly, it's pretender, and I don't even know what it is to like get them to that contender level this year.
I'll tell you right now. I'll tell you right now what it is. We literally talked about this. Okay. Houston does not have a contender level offense in the half court. It's just kind of mucky. They just don't really have a direction in the half court, especially in late game situations. Like their offense just is really murky, and they kind of rely on Şengün and Fred VanVleet to be at the top of their games.
Yeah.
And Fred VanVleet is all over the place because of how jump shot reliant he is. So basically, you just end up relying on Şengün. So I think they're pretenders as well, and I don't think it's the same thing where it's like they're a year too early. I think they're a piece away. I think it's the Jalen Green. Like I said, I think an actualized version of Jalen Green is what would move the needle for this team. I don't think Jalen Green is going to actualize into that player, so you need to find the guy who can be that player. And to me, it's like Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, that type of player. Like, if this Rockets team was the exact same, but they had Devin Booker instead of Jalen Green, I'd be calling them contenders.
I think we had somebody in our comments saying that and agreeing with you. Like, give them Zach LaVine even. I think they were like, yeah.
Yeah, I think they're missing that half-court perimeter scoring weapon that they can consistently rely on to create. And same thing with Magic. I think Houston has a championship-level defense. Şengün's taken a significant step forward. The Terror Twins are ridiculous. Dylan Brooks is a top 5 point of attack defender in the league. VanVleet's a really smart team defender. Their rotations and switches are all perfect. It's just the simple fact that I think they're missing, like, the Jalen Green stuff. Like, if you just get a real consistent star level 2 in place of Jalen Green, now we're cooking. Now we're cooking something serious. So I think they're one piece away, not 1 year away, like Orlando.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. Contender. I mean, pretender. Good grief. Last but not least, I think we're going to agree with this. Memphis Grizzlies. They're contenders, man. They're contenders, especially if what Jaren's doing is sustainable. Like, in terms of the offensive kind of leap he's taken, because that's so big for this team's ceiling. I mean, we not to gush over Memphis some more. We've talked about them a ton. They have legit 15 NBA rotation players. Like, Ja can miss the second out of the back-to-back and be completely okay. And Memphis will be completely okay, rather. Because then it's, this is, Scottie Pippen Jr.'s night. This is Cam. Wait, do they have Cam Spencer? Yeah, I think they're the team that's Cam Spencer. One of the UConn guys. It's his turn to go crazy. He has like 15 points in their last game, I think, off the bench. And the funny thing is, like, Desmond Bane hasn't even played that spectacular yet. Like, offensively, their floor is ridiculously high. Again, victory lap train. Go ahead.
They just won in Boston. Like, that was their most recent game. They won in Boston. Or did they face Washington, too? I don't know, but they just won in Boston like 2 nights ago.
They just won in Boston, where Ja has the just flat-out ridiculous reverse dunk after he said, I'm not dunking no more. Memphis is a contender again. Victory lap train coming to a city near you. I can't believe people are trying to pretend like Memphis is not a 50-plus win team when healthy. This team's good. They're a contender in my eyes.
Jaren Jackson against Boston had 27 points, 9 rebounds, 3 steals, and 4 blocks on 11 of 19 shooting.
I think Edie's hurt too, isn't he?
Who, Jaren Jackson?
No, Edie. I said, isn't Edie hurt?
Oh, I thought you said, is he hurt? I was like, I don't think Jaren Jackson's hurt. Yeah, Edie hasn't played in like a couple weeks.
Yeah. So like,
Yeah, I don't have anything more to say on the Grizzlies than what we did like 2 episodes ago. We had a whole segment on them. The Grizzlies are absolutely contenders, and it's time to jump on the bandwagon if you haven't already, because this team is ridiculously good on both ends of the floor.
yeah. So just embrace it. It's okay. The cool thing to do was hate on John Morant because he was an idiot off the court, but he's done with that. Seemingly, he's a top 20 player when healthy. Like, let's not overthink this.
And Jaren Jackson Jr. is playing like a top 20 player as well. So
yeah.
2 top 20 players with all that depth. Seriously good team.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap up with this then. Well, first off, I guess we could do in-season tournament stuff to end it. Shout out Chris Paul, man. Shout out Chris Paul. I freaking love Chris Paul.
Yep.
Second all-time assist leader. Shout out. Did you watch the video of him inside the locker room?
I did not, but I saw the basketball with all of the players he assisted. That was awesome.
That's awesome. And then watching it be like CP's like tearing up in the locker room, like, oh, that's awesome. CP's the man.
I love Chris Paul, man. Shout out Chris Paul.
I need to get a jersey. I think we've talked about this already. I need to get a CP
Hey,
jersey.
while we're talking about Chris Paul, can we acknowledge that Kanye West had the funniest tweet of all time?
When
he posted the picture of Chris Paul and said, I caught this guy with Kim. Do you remember that? Do you remember that?
I do remember that now.
That was the craziest tweet of all time, bro. Shout out Chris Paul, man.
Now that I think about that, the way Twitter reacted to that.
Bro, it was so out of nowhere. He's like, by the way, I caught this guy with Kim. Good night. And it was a picture of Chris Paul in like a yearbook.
I'm like, dog.
Nah, shout out Chris Paul, though. Like, all seriousness, like, I love Chris Paul, man. It's one of my, like, top 10 favorite players of all time. One of the greatest point guards of all time. Probably one of the most underrated players of all time. And I hope he gets his flowers when he retires because just absolutely incredible career.
Yeah, like I said, I need to get a signed CP jersey, and that will be hung up in the Raptors. But how do we want to wrap this show up today, Tyler?
Let's predict the in-season tournament because the single elimination games start when? This week? Are they this week?
Tuesday. Starts tomorrow or today.
Tomorrow. So tomorrow we got the first round of elimination. So I just want to run through. There's what, 8 teams in this, and we'll
overall
just predict. So what are there?
I'm saying overall. Yeah, my bad.
Oh, I thought
overall.
I thought you said 12, and I was like, am I looking at the wrong thing?
No, overall.
Yeah, overall there are 8 teams. There's 4 on each side. Okay,
Yep.
So I'm just going to go game by game, and I want to hear who you got. So Thunder or Mavs?
Dallas is rolling.
So is OKC.
We'll go OKC. We'll go OKC.
I also want to preface this by saying we're probably going to get most of this wrong because single elimination is literally impossible to predict. It's not like you can look at the ins and outs of a 7-game series. Most of the single game stuff comes down to which team has better luck, like which team is shooting better from 3, which team is hitting their free throws, which team has the favorable whistle. So we're going to get most of this wrong. It doesn't mean we're dumb. Actually, it probably does, but yeah, I think OKC and Dallas is probably the toughest one for me. I think I'm going to go Hartenstein's looked really good.
Yeah,
Dallas
we got to talk about him on the next episode.
Dallas has looked really good. Dude, this is bad. I'm going to go. We'll come back to that one for me. We're skipping. I'm pleading the 5th. We'll come back. Rockets,
Bucks.
Warriors.
Oh, okay. We're doing
we'll
West.
keep it in the West. Rockets, Warriors.
Okay. Rockets, Warriors. Give me Golden State.
I'm gonna go Golden State too, just because I think they're gonna really zone in because they need wins right now. They've lost 6 of their last 7. I think the Warriors, but then again, the Rockets were kind of my prediction to win the whole thing a couple weeks ago. So it's tough for me, but I'm gonna go Golden State. I'm gonna go, and going back, I'm gonna go OKC. I'm not confident in that at all. It's like a 50.1 versus 49.9. But I think OKC and Golden State. So we're in agreement so far. Magic Bucks is an easy Bucks pick for me because Magic don't have Paolo or Franz. Yeah, it's an easy Bucks pick for me. I don't know what they're gonna do for Giannis. Knicks and Hawks.
I want to be the Trey Homer so bad. I'll be pulling for Trey too in New York, but it's New York. I'm taking New York, and I'll just be happy if Atlanta pulls up an upset.
It's a tough one though because the Hawks have looked really, really good recently. But I'm going to go with the Knicks because I just think, like I said, I think they're going to explode offensively. I actually think the Hawks have the worst possible defense to guard the Hawks. Oh my gosh, we need to wrap this episode up immediately. The Hawks have the worst possible defense for defending the Knicks. Like, I think Capella is maybe the worst option you can have against Cat. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Knicks there. So second round, Warriors Thunder. That's an easy Thunder pick for me.
That's Thunder.
Actually not easy. I don't want to say easy.
Though.
But I do think the Thunder have the advantage there. And would it be an OKC? Would it be an OKC?
No, semifinals on is neutral site, I think.
Oh, it's Vegas. Yeah, I forgot it's in
Vegas. Semifinals on.
Yeah. Okay, but I think OKC has the advantage there, but it's closer than I gave it credit for. Bucks Knicks. Wait, Bucks and Knicks faced in the semifinals last year, didn't they? Or no, it was the first round.
First round, I think.
Bucks
Knicks this time around. I mean, this game's gonna be played in the 120s.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna go Milwaukee. I think actually.
I'm going New York. This is our first disagreement, and I think it's the same thing I just said about the Hawks.
Yeah.
Cat absolutely torches Brook Lopez every time.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm just expecting a huge offensive game from Cat, and I think the Knicks have a higher offensive ceiling than the Bucks. So that's basically where I'm leaning with this one. I think the Knicks are going to have a good offensive game, and I think a good offensive game from the Knicks is better than a good offensive game from the Bucks. So that'd be my pick. Knicks. So I got Knicks Thunder. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Knicks, man. I got the Knicks winning it all. I got the Knicks winning this thing, man. Put in your bets. No, don't put in your bets because I'm gonna be wrong. But I got the Knicks. I got the Knicks.
So I have Bucks Thunder. I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna ride out with my team that I winning the whole thing this year. They're gonna win 2 championships this year. Give me the Thunder. Give me the Thunder.
All right, you heard it here first. Put all of your money on the Thunder to win both championships. Don't do that because we're gonna be wrong. But that's going to wrap up today's episode. Man. Appreciate everyone listening. Make sure you follow Hoop Venue on all social media platforms, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. You'll just look up Hoop Venue. You'll find something. Follow our personal accounts. My Twitter is Tyler Britton _. His is Sean _DAVI. Like I said, we appreciate you guys listening to this episode and all of our episodes. And we will catch you guys next time in episode number 15.